Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On April 6th this year, your agency notified this committee of the discovery of widespread diversion of U.S. branded food aid in Tigray. The war in northern Ethiopia featured severely restricted humanitarian access, we understand, and looting of humanitarian warehouses. Since the initial notification from USAID, our committee has not been briefed on the diversion of U.S. food aid in Tigray, despite requests. While I understand the acute situation in Sudan has captured attention within USAID, we should be able to do multiple things at the same time. I'm sure you know that in our oversight capacity, we are deeply troubled when these kinds of things happen, and our constituents are even more deeply troubled. And for those that have reservations about all this stuff, this gives ammunition. So can you give us an update on the diversion of the U.S. food aid in Ethiopia?
Thank you. I absolutely share your outrage and that of your constituents at what looks to be fairly substantial diversion of assistance meant for what were people in Tigray who were facing famine conditions. We have dispatched our Deputy Assistant Administrator for Humanitarian Affairs to the region, and he and a team is actively looking into what happened, and we do have some preliminary indications of effectively collusion between parties on both sides, actually, of the conflict.
Is that team still there, or are they back here?
Our Deputy Assistant Administrator, I believe, is back, but the team on the ground working out of our mission in Ethiopia is still, uncovering this, and we've engaged the Ethiopian government as well as the Tigrayan authorities. It looks, there's plenty more to be said when we have the actual facts in a right position, I think, to convey to you, but it looks as though this is something that started in the wake of the cessation of hostilities, so a more recent instance of collusion. We have retrieved, much of the assistance that was out on open markets, but there's no question, again, that this is outrageous, and above all, the people in Tigray are the ones to have suffered because they will not have received access to food in the course of distributions because of this criminal network that was established. Again, it looks like somewhere between November and February of this year.
Well, we're looking forward to that, and I got to tell you, there's going to be a lot of pressure from this committee to see what you're going to do about this, because this, just saying, well, this happened and we're concerned and this.
I couldn't agree more. And
we got to have a plan going forward that is much more reliable than what we've got here.
I want to stress how unusual the circumstance was, but not unique, and so your concerns are very well founded. But it really was, again, the denial of access for our disaster response team that deprived us of the safeguards and the oversight that we normally have. We did have third-party monitors and others we were relying upon, but obviously we have to look at what amounts to a system failure if, in fact, again, this was allowed to happen at scale. So we know we owe you ample, not only accounting for what has happened, but also some institution of additional safeguards that will give you the assurance that you need in light of all of the resources that we're expending globally to try to meet food needs.
Well, let me turn for a minute to the Palestinian question. You heard my opening statement. I'm really distressed by the fact that we're bumping up money in this area. Look, we've been at this for decades, and we keep trying to pound a round peg into a square hole. We keep doing the same thing. We keep getting the same results. What's the situation with this, what I think is a very significant increase in this area in the budget?
Well, I think that, again, while there's no question that development assistance or humanitarian assistance has not brought peace to this region, I think the individuals who are affected by this programming have felt the impact of this programming over the years. And, whether that's those who access education through State Department funding, who would otherwise not have access to schools, whether those who access clean water. And again, some of the sanitation programming we're trying to do would have cross-line benefit as well. Civil society programming is about holding also the Palestinian Authority to account and for there to be more pressure from the outside to improve governance, which I know is something that has concerned you. Even career skills training for young people. Every one of the 10,000 youth that receive those career skills training has the opportunity potentially to find a career that they would not otherwise have found, which means potentially being less attracted to the path of extremism, which, of course, there are always people there trying to exploit a sense of deprivation or grievance.
Well, Samantha, I don't disagree with what you've said about the money doing some good. The problem I've got is this isn't our responsibility. This is not the responsibility of the American people. Certainly, we do our best to try to get people up on their feet and going, but when you get a situation like this, that's not only gone on for decades, it's gone on for generations. And we do the same thing over and over and over again. They do the same thing over and over again. And I'm just disgusted with it and through with it, to be honest with you. And yet here, there's another 250 million going in. It's just, I have real difficulty with this, real difficulties. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.